Hello friends and welcome back to my channel. So in this session we are going to see what are constraints in SQL Server. Okay. So as usual the agenda would be understanding basics of constraints and then a practical demo. So first of all let us understand what are constraints. So constraints are nothing but a predefined rules and restriction on column for values that are inserted, right? So basically when you create a table, in my earlier videos you have seen how to insert a record into the table. If you have not, then please go and check that video, right? So whenever you want to insert a data into the columns, right, then these are some predefined rules and restriction which can restrict the data to be inserted if it is not following that rule. So this way, you can maintain the integrity or the correctness of the data. Maintains integrity, accuracy, and reliability of that columns data, as I already talked, right? Maintains data integrity even if data is coming from different sources. Now when you are working with a database, now it's not that always you would be inserting the value from the application or you would be inserting the value from the management studio, right? So there are lot many different sources from where you can insert, update, and delete the data. So it becomes very mandatory to impose such rules so that from whatever sources this data comes in, right, still data integrity and accuracy is always there. Okay. Constraints are defined at column level. Okay. So you can define these constraints at the column level, and it's not that you can have only one constraint in a single table. You can have multiple constraints defined on a single table. The only thing is that if you have so many constraints that then your DML operation sometimes might be becomes slow for the bulk operation. So it should be a very balanced approach on defining the constraints on the table. Okay. Microsoft SQL Server actually provides like the six type of constraints, that is default, not null, check, unique, primary key, and foreign key. So these are different constraints. We would talk about everything in our demo, and I would show you the practical demo as well. So yeah, let us waste no time and let us jump onto the demo. Let me open my management studio, and I have already created the constraint demo. Okay, so first we will see not null. So what is not null, right? So in Microsoft, or in other database also, you can specify the column as a null. Now null means nothing, right? It is not a space, so you cannot take null as a space. Sorry. So null mean nothing, right? So the values in a column either can be not null. Not null means you will have to specify the value for that column. And if you mark that column as a null, then you may insert a value or you may not insert a value, right? And that's where this first constraint comes into the picture, that not null. So if you have marked the column as a not null, then mandatorily you will have to specify the value for that column. Okay. So here, I'm creating this not null demo table, and you can see I have created two columns, ID integer, and I have specified this constraint as not null, which means my ID column should contain a value, it cannot be null. And then my second column is null, name varchar 50 and a null. Okay, so let me execute this. Let me change. Okay, let me execute this. Sorry guys. So my table is created, and now let us start using inserting the values. Now you already know, if you have gone through my DML operation video, then you already know how to insert the values. Okay. So in first case, I'm passing values 1 here ID and A as name. Okay. So execute. Yes, it went through. Now, as I told you, right, then when you can, if you use a column name, then only those values would be inserted into that column name. So basically I'm omitting this ID into my second execution, which means what, SQL Server engine would try to insert. See, whenever you don't pass anything to that column, then it would be, SQL Server would try to pass a null value to that column. Okay. And for ID column we have specified not null. So let us see what happens when we execute this statement. So you can see here, cannot insert the value null into column ID, the table. It is giving the table definition, and then column does not allow nulls, insert fails, right? So in this case, what happened, as I have not used ID value, SQL engine has tried to insert the value null into the ID column, but we have this check constraint, sorry, we have this constraint here as not null, and hence it is failing. Now let us see how the third statement would work. So what do you think? It would insert a value? Let us see. No, right? Cannot insert the value null into column because I'm trying to pass the value null into this column. And you know that it doesn't allow the null values. Okay. So hope you have understood not null, right? Either a value should be there or not should be there. But if you have specified not null, then you will have to pass some value. Okay. Now the next constraint in our list is unique constraint out of those six constraint. So what is unique? Unique means that whenever you specify a unique constraint on a column, then the values in that column throughout, for all the rows should be unique, right? It cannot duplicate. When I say unique means it cannot be duplicated. Okay. So here again, I'm specifying, I'm creating a table with ID column integer. I'm specifying this as a unique and then name as a varchar null. So let me create this table and let us start inserting the values. So I'm inserting value 1, it accepted. Now here you can see I'm passing the 1 again to the ID column, right? With my name as different. When I exactly do this, you can see it is giving an error violation of unique key constraint. Cannot insert duplicate key in the object unique demo. The duplicate key value is 1, right? So this shows that this constraint is working properly, right? When I specify the unique, it would not allow. Okay. What do you think about the third statement? It will, because null, of course, it is not a value, but it is something different, right? So it can also, it will allow the one, again, one null only with when you specify the unique constraint. If I try to put the this null again, and if I try to execute this, it will again give me a error that violation of a unique key, and the key value is null. You can see here how null is specified in the brackets and this less than or greater than bracket, right? So with a unique value, first thing is that it would not allow it will not allow the duplicate values to be inserted into the column, and secondly you can insert only one null value. Okay, now it is not value, sorry, I'm specifying null value. You can only insert one null and not more than that. Okay, so this was my unique demo, our unique demo. Let us move on to the default constraint. Okay, so what is a default? Default means whenever you specify not null value, right? Or even for null value, uh, it doesn't work only with a not null or null constraint. The only thing is whenever you don't pass a value to a column, right? Then whatever default you have specified, right, it will get inserted, that value into that column. Okay. So here with the name varchar 50, I'm specifying not null, and then I'm saying okay, my default value is value not assigned. So whenever I don't put the value, right, or if I don't pass a value to this column, in that case this value would get assigned, right? So now this is the way, if you have a not null column and if you specify the default, then even if you don't specify the column name or if you don't insert a value into that column, then the default value will get inserted. So let me create this statement here, and I have created a table called default demo with id as an integer and name with varchar 50 not null, and I'm specifying default value is value not assigned. Okay, so let me insert this first value and let me query this table for you. 1a it is showing. Now I am inserting the second row, second value with 2, and I'm specifying the null. Cannot insert the value null into the column. See, as I told you, null is not a space or value or nothing, right? But here we have specified not null. So it doesn't mean, but we are passing something. So it didn't identify that, nothing has been passed to this column because we are passing something. And hence it has, created an error, and it didn't assign the default value to this because we are passing null and we have specified this column as a not null, and hence it actually errored out. Okay. Now in my third execution, you can see I have omitted the value column name, and I'm just passing the value 3 to my ID column, and inserting trying to insert the value into my default demo table. When I execute this, it got inserted, and let us see what it got inserted. So now you can see for my value 3, it has assigned value not assigned, which I had actually used this, right? So this way, you know you can use the default values to insert the value whenever you don't have that value. But still, as it is a not null and you want to specify something, right? In real time application, this is used many a time. For example, for ID columns or integer columns, or for example boolean columns, you can specify that this record is first of all active and so on. Okay, so basically this way this default work. Okay, now, let us go to the check constraint. So, what is a check constraint? Check constraint is nothing but whatever filter criteria or whatever condition you have mentioned, it will check for that column. So, whenever you mention some condition, it will match, try to match that. And if your record, if your value for that column is not fitting into that condition, then it will error out. Okay, so here I am creating a table with check demo. ID is into integer, not null, then first name varchar 25 and age integer, this is my data type, and then I'm using the check constraint as a keyword check, and I'm saying that okay, whatever record is inserted into this table, the age, whenever we insert the value into the age column, it should be greater than or equal to 18. Simple check constraint I am using. Okay, so let me execute this and let us try to execute, insert the value. So first value got inserted because in a age column we are passing 18 here, if you can see, right? And our check constraint is greater than or equal to 18. When I try to insert this second value where I'm passing the age as 15, it should error out. The insert statement conflicted with the check constraint. The conflict occurred in database constraint demo and so on, right? So whatever check, now this check can be complex. You can write that age should be greater than 18 and less than 30, or whatever it may be. This check constant, even it can refer to the column of the table. It cannot refer to the column of another table, but it can refer to the column of the same table, and based on that column, if the value is there or not, and so on. So this might, you might have actually you can use this with a very complex. You can actually write a scalar function and use that scalar function to check whether the column is having the specific value or not. But I would suggest as a best practices, don't use that, because with the bulk operation, this will slower down your insert statements, right? So this was the check constraint. Then primary key, we have already seen a unique key, right? Which means that duplicate is not allowed. Similarly, is for the primary key, right? But in a unique key, if you remember that it allows one null value, but if the primary key, it doesn't allows the null value, single null value also. So primary key is nothing but the combination of not null, unique, and a duplicate, not null, unique values, right? So it cannot be not null and it cannot be a duplicate. Only unique value should be there with the primary key. One thing with Microsoft SQL Server, what happens that whenever you create a primary key, by default, it creates a clustered index on that column. Okay, so keep in mind. Okay, when I execute this, let me show you. So I have created a table with primary key demo with ID integer, and then I'm specifying this is my primary key, and then name varchar not null. And when I actually expand this for primary key demo, you can see in my primary key demo table, in my indexes, you can see this primary key clustered index. So as I told you, whenever you create a primary key, by default, it creates a clustered index. You can see here this clustered index, right? So whenever you are specifying, and if you see this clustered index, let me open this clustered index for you. You can see the unique clustered index is created, right? So this way it maintains the uniqueness plus a not null. Here we have not specified a not null constraint, right? But primary key means not null, right? A unique value without null. So let me insert the values. First value got inserted, and when I try to insert the second, cannot enter the value into null because it doesn't allow nulls. Okay, and if I try to insert the again one, because this is my primary key, in my third statement I am trying to insert one again, which was already inserted with my first insert statement, so it is again erroring out. The duplicate key value is 1. Okay, so this way, primary key maintains the data unique plus not null also. Okay, it don't allow the null values also. So now, right? And then comes the foreign key. What is the foreign key? So when you create a primary key, this is an RDBMS database, right? So each, you can specify the relationship between the two tables, right? And depending upon that relation, you can, insert or delete the insert, delete or update the values, right? So whenever you create a foreign key constraint, right, there are two things that whenever you try to insert a value into the child table. So now, first of all, let us understand in foreign key constraint or the parent child relationship or primary key foreign key, right? One table is the primary key or the master table, and one table is the foreign key table, which is the child table. I will explain you everything. So let me first clear out the environment. So here I'm creating first table with primary foreign key demo, and I'm specifying this foreign key demo ID as my primary key and name as not null. And then I'm specifying the second key, that is foreign key demo detail. And you can see here my this for this table, this is my primary key, and for fkd id which is already present here, right, I'm specifying that this is a foreign key which is referencing to my master table, this foreign key demo, and what is the column which through which it is referencing is my fkd id. Now it is not necessary that this column and this column should be have the same name. You can have the different name. The only thing is, whenever you are referencing any table to a master table, it should have its own primary key, right? So hope you have understood, guys, that how to create a relationship. So this is my primary key table, this is my foreign key table, that is a child table, and within child table I'm taking one more column called as an fkd id, which is a type of integer, and then I'm specifying, okay, this is a foreign key which references which table. So this is my table, you can see here, this is my foreign key demo table, and what column? So fkdid. So basically now these two tables are in a relation, and when they are in relation, right, what happens? I will show you. Okay, first of all, let me create a table, and now what I'm doing in my foreign key, that is my master table, I'm inserting two values. Okay, so if you can see here, select star from foreign key demo, and two values are inserted, one fkdid, that is for my primary key 1 2 and ab. Okay, and I'm inserting, trying to insert the values into the foreign key demo detail, that is my child key. Okay, now my child column, let me open this here so you can understand, because I have not specified the values, sorry, column names. So you can see first column is its own primary key, second is my foreign key which is referencing to my primary table or a master table, and second is some details. Okay, so you can see here for my primary key there are two values, 1 and 2. So I'm trying to insert this value, it got inserted. I'm trying to insert this value, so in my fkd id I'm passing 3. Okay, now you can see my 3 is not there in my master table. Okay, and when I try to insert this record, it fails, saying insert statement conflicted with the foreign key constraints. The conflict occurred in database constraint, database name and everything, and with the for the column fkdid. So why it is failing in master table, master child relationship, whenever you are inserting a record into the child table, right, for that column, right, which is being referenced, the same value or the same record should exist into my master table. So here you can see in my foreign key master table, I don't have the value 3 for fkdid, and here I am trying to pass value 3 for this column, and hence it is failing. Okay, so this is a primary key and foreign key constraints. Hope you have understood. Of course, this will take time, watch my videos again and again to understand it in better way, and also try to do, as many as example, or try to do as much as practice you can. Okay, now once everything is done, you have this, I have explained all these six constraints. So, in a large system, how to find that how many constraints are there. So basically there are two things, in two ways. So you can see select star from default constraint. Okay. So when I execute this, you can see one record is execute coming in, and you can see the definition also here, right? Value not assigned. And if you want to have this further details, what you can do is you can actually join this with object and a columns catalog table to get more information. So when I join this default constraint with my sys object and sys column catalog table, I get a proper constraint name with on what column and what table it is being actually created. So you can see here my default demo is my table name, and the column name is name, and the definition is value not assigned, which means what? in my default demo table for the column name, you know, I have a default constraint called as value not assigned. Similarly, if you want to get another constraints details, then there is a sys key constraints where it will show you can unique key. Then this is a primary key, foreign key, all these constraints. And here also, if you actually join this, then you can see here for the table name and the type of description. That is on unique demo, it was unique constraint, primary key demo, primary key, and with this foreign key demo, we have one primary key also and one foreign key also. Okay, so this way you can get the information on your constraints, right? And as usual, I'm just cleaning up this. So, I'm cleaning up, I'm removing all the tables which we have created, right? I'm sorry that guys, this was a little bit longer, but I think it was very necessary to understand what are the constraints and how this, six constraints work. Okay. So hope you have enjoyed this. Watch this video again and again, or also you can watch another videos from the YouTube. But I would suggest that get more and more detail about this constraint, practice more and more to understand it in better way. Okay. So thanks for watching this video, guys. As usual, please don't forget to press a like button and subscribe my channel. That's it for today. Meet you next time with next topic. Till then, bye and take care.